So, who will read today?
Shilpa?
Okay, I'll read it. Into all of endeavor, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start. Into
Okay.
all our endeavor upward, the lower element of desire will at first naturally enter. For what the enlightened will seize as the thing to be done and pursues as the crown to be conquered, what the heart embraces as the one thing delightful that in us which feels itself limited and opposed, and because it is limited, craves and struggles, will seek with the troubled passion of an egoistic desire. This craving, life force, or desired soul in us has to be accepted at first, but only in order that it may be transformed. Even from the very beginning, it has to be taught to renounce all other desires and concentrate itself on the passion for the divine. This capital point gain, it has to be taught to desire not for its own separate sake, but for God in the world and for the divine in ourselves. It has to fix itself upon no personal spiritual gain, though of all possible spiritual gains we are sure, but on the great work to be done in us and others, on the high coming manifestation, which is to be the glorious fulfillment of the divine in the world, on the truth that has to be sought and lived and enthroned forever. But last, most difficult for it, more difficult than to seek with the right object. It has to be taught to seek in the right manner, for it must learn to desire not in its own egoistic way, but in the way of the divine. It must insist no longer, as the strong separative will always insist, on its own manner of fulfillment. Its own dream of own idea of the right and desirable, it must yearn to fulfill a larger and greater will and consent to wait upon a less interested ignorant guidance. Thus trained desire, that great unique harasser and troubler of man, and cause of every kind of stumbling, will become too fit to be transformed into the divine counterpart. For desire and passion too have their divine forms. There is a pure ecstasy of the soul seeking beyond all craving and grief. There is a will of Ananda that is glorified in the possession of the supreme beatitude.
Yes. So, wonderful para. What is meaning? So, we'll have a look at. Okay, well, shall I do one thing? I'll read out the summary of what he's saying first, and then we will go into the details. Okay, so he's saying in this para, even after commencing the yoga, we are still normal men in our outer nature of body, life, mind, and ego. We have also an ego. We may have decided to do yoga, but we are still imperfect. Therefore, we are very much subjected to the importunings and insistences of desire. Now, this is a very interesting thing. Why does nature give desire? Okay. Now, as we have discussed many times, everything in the physical world, even ignorance, even desire, even everything has got a purpose. Okay. So, why did the nature introduce desire into even animals and also into men? So, if desire is not there, motive for action will not be there, isn't it? Now, when you are starting from the, you are starting evolution from matter. Matter is dead. It is full of tamas. So, tamas has to be countered. And how do you counter tamas? Tamas is rest and non-movement. So, into non-movement, you have to introduce movement. So, you have to give some carrot and stick policy. You know what the carrot and stick is, na? They dangle a donkeys are usually supposed to be very lazy, so they dangle a carrot in front of the and he starts moving. You sit on the donkey and put a carrot, and he tries to reach the carrot, but he is always out of reach. So desire is the principle to get rid of tamas and action. If desire is not there for food, how will you live? So an animal cannot live without desire for food. So desire is introduced so that you will live. Okay? Then that's why that is the importance of desire. It makes you move and starts making you go into action. Okay, it's the opposite of tamas. Now, fine. In fact, we can go a little more into detail. It's very interesting, even in economics. Okay, desire is used as a tool for development. Okay, suppose I have a district in Tamil Nadu. There is a Ramnath district is a very dry and undeveloped area. Now I want to develop that, and I want to bring some not a desert, but I want activity and prosperity there. What do? I announce that anyone who introduces an industry in that area, I will make it tax free for you. I will give you free electricity. So you will make huge amounts of profits. So this is the desire that the government gives to the industrialists to say, and then the thing gets developed. That which is a desert becomes a very active, habitable place. So desire is very necessary, and that's exactly what is doing. So Swami is saying we will have to accept desire and turn it towards the right ends. Okay. So therefore we are very much subjected to the importunings and insistence of desire. So we accept it at first because ego and desire are natural to all living beings and humans. Note interestingly that the Buddhists and the Mayavadins don't accept desire. They say, no, we throw it away. But Sri Aurobindo Yoga, no, you accept it and turn it towards the divine. So if you turn the desire to the divine, it becomes aspiration. So desire also, as he tell you afterwards, has a divine counterpart. Okay, so it becomes aspiration. So we accept at first because ego and desire are natural to the all living beings and humans. But desire has to be taught to change. First, we must change the object of desire. What are you desiring? Normally you desire what? Food, satisfaction, pleasure. These are the things that you desire. Desire for small petty objects and objectives must be transmuted into desire for the divine alone. This is the first thing. You change the object of desire, the aim of desire you change. Secondly, we must change the manner of desire. Instead of a troubled, unquiet, excited hankering for petty, finite pleasures, we must develop a quiet, calm aspiration for the divine, infinite divine. Okay? So, even desire has a divine counterpart. There is a pure ecstasy of the soul's seeking, which is not a craving or its natural corollary, grief. If you desire in the wrong way, grief is sure to come, because there are dualities in the physical world. There is also a will of Ananda that sits glorified in the possession of the supreme beatitudes. This is what Srila is saying in the first you change the object of desire, second you change the manner of desire also. Normally when we desire something, we become restless and we are not satisfied until that damn thing is done. Okay, so we become restless and we start immediately acting. But it has to be done in a calm, quiet manner, without. I just mentioned one thing here interestingly, that Ramakrishna was not desiring divine in a calm, quiet manner at all. Okay, he was infused with a tremendous sense of urgency and a craving for the divine. Okay, it was a restless, very violent type of desiring, and he even went to the extent of saying, if you don't show yourself to me, he's telling Mother Kali, I'll kill myself. And he takes a sword and is about to cut off his own neck. And suddenly the divine being comes and shows herself to him. But Sri Aurobindo says he had to suffer the consequences. So, and what was that? He used to get a heat and a burning in the body. So that's why Sri Aurobindo says, no unquiet, no craving, no desire, no vital push. It should be a calm, quiet aspiration. Okay, that's what he says. So we go to the next. That which means that necessarily your progress may be slow, but doesn't matter. slow and steady wins the race, as they say. So the story of the tortoise and the rabbit, na? So slow and steady wins the race. So you have to be patient. Okay, now we go to the each sentence. This is the gist of what he's saying. Into all our endeavor upward, the lower element of desire will at first naturally enter, because that's what we start from. The animal has desire and man also has desire, so he has to change that desire. For what the enlightened will sees as a thing to be done and pursues it as a crown to be conquered, what the heart embraces as the one thing delightful, that in us which feels itself limited and opposed, and because it is limited, craves and struggles. Desire in the beginning is craving and struggling, because limitation pours cold water on you. So you want to break that cold water, and you want what you want immediately and urgently. Craves and struggles will seek with the troubled passion of an egoistic desire. That is natural. But you shouldn't get disturbed by that. Instead of what they say, you try to kill desire. But if you kill desire, what you are doing is you are killing part of the vital also and the energy also. But you shouldn't discourage the energy. Okay? As the Gita says very clearly, don't harm your own being. Okay? You should never depress your own being. And if you try to get rid of ego in a very and desire in a very violent manner, it will depress you. So that is not to be done. This craving life force or desire soul in us has to be accepted at first, but only in order that it may be transformed. I accept you, but I don't want to accept you as you are. I will transform you. Even from the very beginning, it has to be taught to renounce all other desires and concentrate itself on the passion for the divine. This is a whole huge discipline where you have to impose upon yourself slowly, slowly. Every time you have a desire, think of the divine. Not easy. It comes up to a huge amount of practice. Okay. So this capital point gained, it has to be taught to desire not for its own separate sake, which we always do, but for God in the world and for the divine in ourselves. So those are a very high level of ideals. Okay. Even the normal yoga doesn't have so much of ideals. Okay. You have to work for God. But all the other yogas are working only for yourself for liberation. But Sridhar is going to the extent of saying, get your liberation, but do the work for God and not for yourself. And for
But
the
Rangada,
yeah, tell me.
when we think of we are working for God, isn't the too big an ego? I mean, how can you think of that? I mean,
Of course,
first,
of course, it's the ego. That's exactly what the thing. But you must be conscious that it is the ego. But doesn't matter, accept it. The ego working for itself and the ego working for God. Certainly, ego working for God is desirable. So, in the beginning, that's exactly what he's saying. You accept the limitation and you accept the wrong way of aspiring. But you have to teach it to aspire in the right way. Takes a long time.
Hello,
Yeah, tell me.
hello.
Yes.
Why did he use two different words?
Hmm.
First, he says, for God in the world and
Yes.
for divine in ourselves. Why
Yeah.
is he distinguish God and divine?
Okay. So, no, he's using a different word only for the sake of non-repetition. God in the world is a cosmic, and the divine in ourselves is your psychic being, the divine presence in yourself, the individual and the cosmic. Okay, that's what he's saying. In fact, he goes on saying everywhere, you must aspire for God transcendently in a cosmic way and in an individual way. You have to experience divine in all the three ways. Here he is mentioning only two. He is mentioning only God in the world is the cosmic aspect, and the divine in ourselves. That also must be satisfied. That you must have the, because if you don't realize the divine in yourself, which is a psychic being, then there are a lot of difficulties. So the first thing is to
so,
realize that the divine is there in yourself. Yes, tell me.
yes. So the first thing is divine in yourself. Then the Divine of the world, God
Yeah,
of the world.
yeah, that according to Sri Aurobindo, that's the best way. But there are many who experience the divine first in the world. Okay, that's what you call the what is the word, pantheism. Okay, that also is possible. It depends on the nature of the individual. But for Sri Aurobindo, he says the best is to start realizing the divine within yourself. But he himself didn't have that. First, he had the, the divine transcendentally. Na? He had the experience of the self first. Then later on, he started seeing the divine everywhere, and in ourselves was very clearly established after Mother came to Pondicherry, because her path was very clearly divine in herself, the psychic element. Okay. That's why even synthesis and all that, he changed a lot from the Arya. If you compare the Arya and the present synthesis, you will see that in the Arya there is not much mention of the psychic. Okay, because it was written before Mother came permanently. So this was the, but he himself says later on that the psychic is the best way. Get the divine in yourself first and then. But it depends on your nature. If your nature wants to, if you are a very mentalized sort of being, then you go to the divine in the cosmos or the transcendent. Okay, so that's all. And Yasmin's question about God and divine, it's only a question of language. No? God and divine is the same. Okay, so it has to fix itself upon no personal spiritual gain. So even your, in fact, Sri says that all the other yogas are wanting very clearly, my motive is liberation, mukti. I want to be free from my body, mind, life. But Sri is saying here, what's he saying? He's saying it has to fix itself upon no personal spiritual gain. Even mukti has to be finally given up. In the beginning, certainly you should want, because that's the desire in you. The desire is, I want mukti. But after that, even that should not be there. It should be a very, very, you just offer yourself to the divine and say to him, do whatever you want with me. That's the best way, but that's not easy. Okay? A total surrender to the divine, saying, I am your property, do what you want with me. Okay? I am not making any conditions on you. So that's the most difficult, not easy. So it has to fix itself upon no personal spiritual gain, though of all possible spiritual gains we are sure, but on the great work to be done in us and others, on the high coming manifestation, which is to be the glorious fulfillment of the divine in the world. Now note this, the glorious fulfillment of the divine in the world, most of the yogas are not concentrating on this at all. Okay? The glorious fulfillment of the divine in the world, that's the next step of evolution. The supramental race coming down. None of the other religions have this idea. Rather, they are running away from the world and going up. The perfection is only at the heaven, level of heaven, nothing here. So, in Christianity as well as in Islam, all you go up only. Okay. In many Indian religions also, the aim is individual liberation. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But Sri is going even beyond that. Okay, he's going to, after you have got your liberation, come down and make efforts to further God's achievements in the world. And look at the word he's using, on the high coming manifestation. In other words, coming suggests Lord had come. Okay, on the high coming manifestation in the future. Okay, which is to be the glorious fulfillment of the divine in the world. On the truth that has to be sought and lived and enthroned forever. Note the word lived. Okay, live only in your body mind life you can live it. When you are escaping and going into the, like all the other yogas are, giving up the physical world, the world is full of imperfections. Sometimes they use very strong words also. Okay? So you have to not run away from your body mind life, but live in the body mind life and enthrone the divine here. That's the difference between the ascent and the descent. All the other yogas are wanting ascension. Fine, no problem. But then the body mind life also, you bring down that higher element into the lower. Then the achievement is 10 times more valuable. But last, most difficult of all, more difficult than to seek with the right object, it has to be taught to seek in the right manner. For it must learn to desire not in its own egoistic way, but in the way of the divine. It must insist no longer, as the strong separative will always insists, on its own manner of fulfillment, its own dream of possession, its own idea of the right and the desirable. It must yearn to fulfill a larger and greater will and consent to wait upon a less interested and ignorant guidance. You have to turn your will and mind and heart towards the divine and say, you guide me and finally use me as your instrument. Okay? My own limited mind is a less interested and ignorant. I can't guide myself. My guidance to myself is ignorant and less interested. Thus strained desire. And now note how he is describing. What is desire? That great, unquiet harasser and trouble of man and cause of every kind of stumbling will become fit to be transformed into its divine counterpart. The divine counterpart of desire is aspiration. Desire for the divine. That becomes the divine counterpart. For desire and passion too have their divine forms. There is a pure ecstasy of the soul seeking beyond all craving and grief. There is a will of Ananda that sits glorified in the possession of the supreme beatitudes. So, very clear. Accept desire first, but turn it slowly. Don't reject it. Turn it slowly towards the divine. It may take time, but do that. Okay? We go to the next para. When once the object of concentration.
When once the object of concentration has possessed and is possessed by the three master instruments, the thought, the heart, and the will, a consummation fully possible only when the desired soul in us has submitted to the divine law. The perfection of mind and life and body can be effectively fulfilled in our transmuted nature. This will be done not for the personal satisfaction of the ego, but that the whole may constitute a temple for the divine presence, a faultless instrument for the divine work, for the work can be truly performed only when the instrument consecrated and perfected has grown fit for a selfless action. And that will be when personal desire and egoism are abolished, but not the liberated individual. Even when the little ego has been abolished, the true spiritual person can still remain, and God's will and work and delight in him and the spiritual use of his perfection and fulfillment. Our works will then be divine and done divinely. Our mind and life and will devoted to the divine will be used to help fulfill in others and in the world that which has been first realized in ourselves. All that we can manifest of the embodied unity, love, freedom, strength, power, splendor, immortal joy, which is the goal of the spirit's terrestrial adventure.
Okay? So, wonderful what he is explaining here. So, again we'll do the same thing. We will read the summary and then we'll go into details. In Jnana Yoga, the soul must stand liberated and even disappear into the infinite. In Jnana Yoga. Okay. But in integral yoga, after liberation, there should be no disappearance into the infinite, but a living in the infinite. You don't disappear, but you live in the infinite. But when you live in the infinite, you cannot live in the infinite with an ego. So the ego has to be replaced by the true individuality. And what is the true individuality? The psychic being or the self, which is your true individuality. A personal, you can call it the Jivatman. The Jivatman is the divine individual being. There is a divine universal being, you can call him God if you want, okay? There is a divine universal being, that's God. But there is also that God seems to divide himself up into 100,000 million billion living souls. And these souls are the Jivatmans. They are all essentially divine, but when they come down to the physical world, they enter into a body, life and mind and become forgetful of their origin. This is the thing. So that has to be the Jivatman. So first of all, you have to, in the normal yoga, get rid of your ego and even get rid of your Jivatman also and disappear into the infinite. In some, okay, in Buddhism especially. Okay. But in other yogas, sometimes you may retain your individuality and get rid only of the ego. But Surendra is saying, no disappearance. Even the Jivatman must live forever. Okay? The Jivatman must become immortal and participate in God's work. That's basically what he's saying. So, in integral yoga, after liberation, there should be no disappearance into the infinite, but a living in the infinite. You have to live. You have to not disappear. You have to maintain your true being. True being is the Jivatman. Maintaining in full the true individuality. You don't dissolve it, you maintain it. The Jivatman, which has now realized its real individuality, this true individuality is personal yet also impersonal because it becomes infinite. The true being is not limited to a body or a point in space and time. It is there everywhere. This is the divine is there everywhere, and so when you, I remember the question comes up, okay. In fact, there is a passage in the, I'll tell you, very interesting. I was once in Madras overnight, and I was in a hotel which has a Christian background, okay. It's on Cathedral Road, and I forget the name of the hotel, but it's a Christian. So in every room there was a Bible, okay. So I started reading the Bible, okay. And one passage was there, and then the passage said, "Oh Lord, I am praying to you, but are you hearing me?" Okay. So this idea of you are hearing me is like an individual, okay. When I am talking to somebody, whether they are paying attention to me or not is something else. But this divine is not individual. He is there everywhere in the universe. So he is bound to listen to you because he is there everywhere. So that's the interesting thing, isn't it? So that's why this true individuality is personal yet also impersonal. It is there everywhere. God is bound to listen to you and reply to you. Okay? It's not the individual divine. It's the cosmic divine who is there everywhere. So your Jivatman also becomes personal as well as impersonal. In other words, you are aware that you are infinite. The disappearance of Buddhism is you are not even aware of your infinity because you are the infinite. There is no individuality to experience it. That's the difference. So then the next step is the possession of the object of concentration and also to be possessed by it. But where? Then the next step is the possession of the object of concentration. Possession of object of concentration, divine. And also to be possessed by it. But where? In that which are the three master instruments. Where do you try to realize the divine and live it? In the master three instruments. What are they? Your mind, your heart and your will. Then only can a complete consummation be fully possible. And the individual mind, life and body can be transmuted into a perfect instrument for divine work in the world. This instrument can work in itself, in the world and in others. So that's why a yogi can influence others just by his being like a lighthouse. Okay, he's constantly radiating light, knowledge, okay, help to others, and you have to only tune into it. That's why a yogi can help others by their very presence. That's what he said. Okay, so this perfection is not for egoistic satisfaction, but for becoming a fit instrument, a worthy representative of the divine on earth. Then the manifestation of divine qualities will become possible. What are the divine qualities? Unity. Not so much multiplicity, but unity. Essentially, everything is one. Love, freedom, strength, power, splendor, immortal joy can become possible. This is the goal of the individual soul as well as the divine spirit's intention and play in the universe. This is what Shri is saying. The others are not, this goal is not there in the other yogas, okay? Very clearly, just 1 second, I'm going to correct my, of the individual soul. The individual soul is the psychic being or the self, as well as the divine spirit's intention and play in the universe. The others don't have this concept of the divine spirit's intention and play in the universe. Play may be, okay, but divine intention, the slow revelation of the divine qualities in the physical world. Okay. Today we have finished 2 chapters and still we are at 8:20. We have got 15 minutes. More than 15 minutes. Yeah. So, shall we read one more para? So,
Yes.
who will read?
Yes,
You want me to read?
Yes, you can. I want everybody to read, but anyone who is ready, yes, start.
The
Good.
yoga must start with an effort or at least a settled turn towards the total concentration. A constant and unfailing will of consecration of all ourselves to the Supreme is demand of us, an offering of our whole being and our many-chambered nature to the Eternal, who is the All. The effective fullness of our concentration on the one thing needful to the exclusion of all the will to be the measure of our self-consecration to the one who is alone desirable. But this exclusiveness will in the end exclude nothing except the falsehood of our way of seeing the world and our will's ignorance. For our concentration on the eternal will be consummated by the mind when we see constantly the divine in itself and the divine in ourselves, but also the divine in all things and beings and happenings. It will be consummated by the heart when all emotion is summed up in the love of the divine in itself and for itself, but love too of the divine in all its beings and powers and personalities and forms of in the universe. It will be consummated by the will when we feel and receive always the divine impulsion and accept that alone as our sole motive force. But this will mean that having slain to the last rebellious strangler the wandering impulses of the egoistic nature, we have universalized ourselves and can accept with a constant happy acceptance the one divine working in all things. This is the first fundamental siddhi of the integral yoga.
Yeah. Now note the word first. Huh? After that, there are many other siddhis that have to be achieved in the integral yoga. Okay. Now, while we are going to go through this, I will also go a little bit into the English part of it also. Okay. So, first of all, I will summarize for you what he is saying, and then we'll go into his detail. Because there also there are some things to be seen. Now, how does the integral yoga begin? This is the question that you ask yourself when you have finished reading, and what is also answering in this para. How does the integral yoga begin? It begins with a settled turn and an effort. Effort. You have to make an effort. Without effort, yoga is not possible. Whatever its quality and intensity in the beginning, it may be very mild, it may be even defective, but doesn't matter. The effort has to be made. But it has to be a settled turn. Yes, now my aim in life is the divine and nothing else. Okay. Something of the other thing also continues to exist. I have to take interest in the world, but my main purpose in life is a settled turn towards the divine. He's using the word settled turn and an effort, whatever its quality and intensity. But it must become, but it must attempt to become a constant, unfailing will. The will must always be there. The will fail very often, as he says earlier, he has said, it has to be relit as in a windy pass. Note those images that he gives, very interesting. Everybody's will fails to a certain extent because tamas is there, desire is there, so there will be times when you will become very, very ordinary. But you must not get depressed and you say, I get up again and renew my will. Okay, so to become a constant, unfailing will, to give oneself to the divine fully in all the parts of the very interesting phrase, many chambered natural human being. So, which are the many chambers? Don't think that it's only mind, life, and body. Okay, there is the subconscious and the inconscient also is part of you. Okay, and also all the higher planes of consciousness also are part of you. You may not have manifested them, but they are there very much. Okay, then there is the intraconscious. There is the inner mind, the inner vital, and the inner physical. Okay, subtle body is the inner physical. These are also all part of you. That's why many chamber. It's not only three. It's the whole universe. If you divide, that's why we use the image of the house. Okay, you are a house. Okay, you are a house. The plot is your own. Now you have built a house, and the house you have built is your body, mind, life. Okay, but that house, and you are living in the body, mind, life. You are living on the ground floor, but you can go to the terrace, which is your outside the mind, above the mind. Then you can build a first floor, you can build a second floor, you can build a third floor, you can build a fifth floor, sixth floor, seventh floor. What are those? Higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, super mind, seventh floor. You have the right to build it. But when you are living in your body, mind, life, you are only living on the ground floor. But there is the possibility of building it because the plot is yours. You can build whatever you want. Okay. So all these are many chambered natural human being. Okay. So everywhere it has to be the divine. Initially, I am reading this summary. Initially, all must be excluded that disturbs this one-pointed concentration. This is a question that Pallu had asked once. We have to one-pointed. You have to start with an intense concentration. Srenda wants a wide concentration, remember? But in the beginning, it has to be one-pointed. That means all the time you are thinking only of the divine. The quality of exclusion, this quality of exclusion will determine the quality of your concentration. As much as you can concentrate, so much effect will be there. But this so-called exclusion, after all, it includes all the parts of the nature, will ultimately exclude nothing. It won't exclude body, mind, life, but it will exclude only what? Ignorance, falsehood, our wrong seeing as the physical, and we see the physical as real, that we reject. We realize that the physical is only a house in which I am living, it's not me. When will the consummation of our consecration be reached? When the mind sees the divine in itself, in our being, in the world, and in all beings. So, when this consummation will be, by the way, I said English, so the word is consummation, okay? It's not consummation, because the word consume is something else, okay? Consume. When you say summary, okay, you don't say summary, you say summary. So the word here also is same. Consummation is pronounced like an A, not a U, okay? Consummation of what? Consecration be reached. When the mind sees the divine in itself, in all our being, in the world, and in all beings. You have to see the divine everywhere, within yourself, outside yourself in the world, as well as in all other human beings also. When the heart's emotion becomes love for the divine, in the divine, but love too for all beings and things. And that's possible only when the psyche comes forward. Okay? Not necessarily in the self, but when your psyche comes forward, you start loving everything, even things and beings and animals and flowers and everything. Okay? Then, when the will recognizes the divine as the sole source of all our impulsions to action, it is He alone who motivates us for all action, emotion, and thought. When the ego, just 1 minute, I'm getting a phone call, just 1 minute. Yes, Ramya, tell me.
What is Ranganath?
Yeah, tell me.
Ranganath, I'm a little outside. I don't think I'll make it at 9 o'clock. And last night, no one has responded.
Acha, okay.
So
So,
we haven't decided yet. But Thursday 4th, I think it's fine. It will be final. 80% sure.
okay.
And so I'll tell my classmate student we'll do the fixing over a call, and I'll let you know by night.
Okay, okay. But I wanted you to, I wanted you to know which are the free periods and which are the, the ones that were already last year, your batch, okay? Synthesis 2 days, Life Divine 2 days, and Secret of the Weather 2 days are all fixed in the same.
So Monday first, there is match. Some of them want manage.
So we'll shift it to another free day, okay?
So yeah, I'll decide with my classmate and I'll let you
Yeah, okay, okay.
know.
All right, bye. Sorry, there was a phone call from the students, okay? So then, when will the consummation be complete? When your mind sees, your heart turns all its emotions as love, when the will fixes itself as the divine, as the motivator of all my action, and also when the ego is abolished, and all action, emotion, and thought is for the divine alone and not for ourselves. This means no desire, no velleities. Velleity means a very mild desire, even that should not be there. No desire at all, even in its mildest form, which are all to be slain permanently. Now, after you have done this, Surendra is saying and giving you a surprise. He's saying this is the first siddhi of the integral yoga. There are many other siddhis also to come. So, after doing all this is only the beginning, he says. So, in fact, that's the thing. He says, our yoga begins where all the others end. Okay? Because most of the other yogas are individual liberation. But after in the integral yoga, after you have got your individual liberation, now your Jivatman is a fit instrument to work for the divine. The others are saying, let the divine work himself. We don't bother. We go up and disappear into him. Okay? But you want to, Srimda wants each individual to, after liberation, to come down into the physical world and start participating and obeying the divine for whatever he is going to tell you to do. Okay? That's what this is the first siddhi. All right. So, 8:31. So we have covered most of it through the summary. Okay. But another word, question of English. Okay. You have to be very careful. There is a word there which says the. I'll read out the word to you. Okay.
Straggler is what?
Yeah, the word is having slain to the last rebellious straggler. Okay, the word straggler.
Who straggler?
It should not be.
Who falls behind? No,
Yeah, that's right. The one who lags behind.
lags behind.
Yeah. Now tell me, which part in us is usually the straggler and rebellious also, not only straggler. I
The
don't
body.
know. Huh?
The body.
The body as well as the vital also.
Mind.
The mind is the one that is the best part of you. The vital also can, once it is transformed, and the body is the straggler. Definitely. But also the vital, sometimes the vital, and the vital is rebellious. The body may not be rebellious, but it's a straggler. Okay? But the body is a straggler, very tamasic straggler. But the
Yes.
vital can be a very rebellious straggler.
Straggler. Yes.
No, I don't want it. Okay. And in fact, it can be very surprising. I'll give you some very fantastic things that I have seen in the press. Okay. There was a person, in fact, I'll give you two examples. Okay. One was in the press, there was a girl. Okay. And maybe she was not getting what she wanted. Okay. Not a very developed person. And she was furious when she saw mother's picture also. She started, I I think she even took a glass of water and threw it on the picture. Okay, so that's what it means by rebellious. Okay, it's not Srimad is not using a simple word. Okay, rebellious regular. Okay, I'll give you another instance. Okay, it can happen. There is a lady in the ashram whose son had died. Okay, and she was very fond of her children. But when the son died, she couldn't take it. It's a divine that has done this to me. Why has the divine done this to me? Why has he imposed this punishment on me? You are not divine at all. You are the devil. Okay? The word used was Rakhosh. Okay? So that rebellious, when they're using the word rebellious, that can happen. You revolt against the divine. Okay? So that also can happen. Also, in a very quiet rebellion, also, I remind you about Dorsemi Iyengar. Okay, even such a developed person. Okay, Dorsemi Iyengar was the one who was a very, very well-known lawyer in India during the British rule, and it is he who bought 1/4 of the ashram building for Sri Aurobindo. And Sri Aurobindo sent him for the Cripps mission to Delhi to speak to the Congress leaders. Nobody listened to him, but he sent Dorsami Iyengar. But Dorsami Iyengar had 2 sons and 1 daughter. Uh, and one son died in the war. He was a Air Force pilot and he died in the war. But the other son developed a fever and he felt that the divine should protect him. But he died in the ashram. So when he died in the ashram, Dorsami could not take it. Okay. Such a developed person, okay. Wonderful man, very noble, very high ideals of law. Okay, he would never be dishonest. So this man turned against the mother. Okay, so he is rebelling against the mother. Okay, it's a very interesting episode. Amal told me himself that he tried very often to tell mother, please, such a fine man, just make a conciliatory gesture towards him and he will turn around to you. Okay? Mother said, no, it's something that he has to solve within himself. My approaching him is not going to help in any way. He has to himself turn. Okay? It has to be a personal effort. So that's the word rebellious. Okay? So I'm not using the word just like that. It can be a very violent rebellion. Okay? I gave you 3 instances of mild and violent. Yeah, tell me. Okay. So,
Hello.
yeah, tell me.
You know, you talked of the girl in the press who threw water on mother's photo and all.
Yes.
But was she an ashramite or was she a hired worker?
No, she was an ashramite only. But what I mean to say is that, and maybe she was not even doing yoga. Okay. She was an ordinary person. She was an ashramite only. But the difference between ashramite and non-ashramite doesn't apply here, because even when you're not an ashramite, you are living in the outside world, you can have a rebellion against the divine. When you don't accept. I'll tell you another instance in Bombay itself, when this COVID was there, okay. You know Akshay in Bombay, that diamond person? You all know him, huh? So he told me of an interesting thing, that there was a lady who lost her husband to COVID. Okay? And she rebelled against the divine. The divine doesn't exist. Who is the divine? How can they do this to me? Okay? She became absolutely turned against the mother. So you can see that also is a rebellion. So it's outside the ashram, nothing to do with the ashramite. Okay.
But Rangada,
Yeah,
in our Indian philosophy, it is that the karma, you have to bear the fruits of your karmas. So why blame the divine for anything?
That's right. That's the ignorance. Exactly. That's exactly. But you are realizing. But the person who does that doesn't realize.
No, but it's prevalent in the Indian ethos, no, that our karmas bear fruit. So why blame anyone else or anything else?
That's
I mean, generally, I don't expect Indians blaming the divine. I mean, non-Indians who don't believe in karma, maybe.
Listen, How many Indians are doing yoga, or how many Indians? They've got 1.2 billion people.
No, it's not nothing to do with yoga. No, it's everyone's. It's in the Indian philosophy, no, karma and all. It's not. We have read about it. No, it's not that you're doing yoga.
Listen, you have read about it, but do you think all have read about yoga? I'll tell you one thing. There is a huge amount of ignorance about all these things. Okay? Don't think that everybody knows the Indian philosophy and Indian yoga. Okay? I'll tell you, there was a person who came from a very good family, well-to-do family. He came to Pondicherry, and one day we were having a discussion, and he is asking me, okay, what is the purpose of people joining the ashram, and what is this ashram, and why do people come here? Now tell me, what does this question imply? Total ignorance of the existence of God. Even this is possible. So don't think that everybody in India knows about the God and yoga and all. No, not at all.
No, and one more thing, Ranganath, knowing is one thing and practicing is totally different, no?
That's right. There are grades, exactly. That also is another thing. So those who are believing God know about his existence, but they know nothing about yoga. Or even if they know yoga, there's a rebellion.
That's what I'm
And it is
saying, Rangada, that even if a person is very devoted, there are people who are very devoted, but
Yes.
in their lives, when something comes, something difficult, something which they had not expected, then they turn rebellious.
Exactly.
Those who don't, it's not so easy to think that it is my karma, so I am facing this today. It's
That's
very
exactly what
rarely that people really accept it. Yeah, that's
exactly.
And it is a very normal, Rangana, it is a very normal tendency of a human being to blame others for everything which goes wrong with. If anything goes wrong with them, they blame others. If anything goes right, they say, yes, I have done, I have done, I have done. So both the time,
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We never look at ourselves and say what Pallu said about karma and that you are responsible yourself for your actions is not a very common knowledge. Okay, Pallu is assuming that everybody knows about it. No, they don't. Okay, even those who know, as Archanathi pointed out just now, it doesn't work when you are attacked by circumstances.
In fact, Ragada, a person who is really devoted, when that person has a difficulty in his life or her life, the first thing that person questions is, how could it be to me? I mean,
Exactly.
I'm great
Exactly.
devoted. I am so.
I am a devotee of the mother. I am done for
Yeah.
her. Why
Why
is
did
she
it
doing
happen
this to
to
me?
me?
Exactly. What we don't understand is that these unpleasant experiences are the best opportunities for progress. Because when a difficulty comes, it is offered to you for conquering it. So all accidents and all unfortunate incidences are actually Mother's grace. That's the thing. Okay? Those who realize this, they don't mind Kali striking you. Okay. So Kali, when she strikes, okay, I'll tell you something very interesting. Okay, it was, I think, Durga Puja day. Okay, and it's early morning. And it is something personal, but it's so interesting that I'm telling you. Okay? And as I was coming in from the ashram at about 6 o'clock in the morning, I was going on the beach road. Okay, and I saw the sun rising. Okay, and it was a beautiful sight. There was a prayer in me. Take me towards you, but kill all opposition in me. Okay, this was the prayer. Within 2 hours, I was physically attacked. So my prayer was absolutely answered. Okay, it was a question of the ego. Okay, so this can really happen. It's a very interesting incident that happened in the press. I was physically attacked, but that was it. Get rid of your ego. You asked for a prayer, and I'm doing that to you. So this is what you have to realize, that the unfortunate accidents that come to you wake you up, shake you up out of your tapas. That's exactly the fact. That's true. But that most people don't realize. Okay, we should realize, but we don't. So what Archana said is absolutely right. Okay, shall we stop here today?
Yes,
We
Ranganath.
have gone past.
Hasn't mother always said that when you formulate a prayer, you
Yeah.
should formulate it in the right way, and you
That's
should
right.
know what you are asking for?
Yes, that's right. No, so what's your point, Yasmin?
No, so very often we ask for wrong things, no?
Yes.
And then the wrong consequences happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that also can happen. Yeah. But depends on the divine. Okay. Sometimes they grant you. Okay. Sometimes they grant what you want, and then you realize that, oh, I really did not want this. My body mind life is asking for it, but not my soul. Okay. There is a very interesting, Hollywood, when they take up sometimes, not Bollywood, Hollywood, okay, when they take up some interesting themes, they put it in a very entertaining manner. I'll tell you, you can see this movie if you want, okay. It's called Bedazzled, okay. So it's a very interesting movie where a person is having a very dull life and he wants some excitement in his life. Then the devil comes to him. There's a beautiful lady who comes to him sitting. He's sitting in a bar and thinking, why is my life so dull? So this beautiful lady comes to him and says, uh, how are you? This, that. They start talking. And he asks her, who are you? She says, I am the devil. She gives him a card on which there is no address but only the devil. This is a Christian idea, but there is a truth behind it. So he says, how do I know that you are the devil? And you have not put any address. How will I talk to you? He says, the moment you think of me, I'll be there. Okay? I don't need an address. And I give you 7 wishes. Anything that you wish for, you will get. I guarantee that. Okay? Then the whole movie is every time he is wanting something, the consequences are absolutely disastrous. Okay? So once he asks for wealth, I want to be the richest person in the world. And you know what he's made into? He's made into a drug dealer in Colombia. And the police are running after him and catching him. Okay. Then he tells, no, I don't want this desire. I want this wish to disappear. So like that, each one, he goes on taking one by one, he is asking for small desires, and every time the consequences are absolutely disastrous. Finally, on the 7th one, he says, I want this contract with you to be cancelled. I don't want any desires at all. It's a very interesting movie and made in a very entertaining manner, but there's a great truth to that. All our desires are for very small, petty things which always give us trouble. Okay.
What is the name of the movie?
Bedazzled.
Bedazzled.
Dazzled.
Bedazzled. Okay.
Yeah.
B and then apostrophe, no?
No.
No?
Bedazzled.
BD. So there's no apostrophe.
No, there's no apostrophe. Bedazzled. It's a very interesting movie. But made in a very Hollywood manner, but there is truth to it. His final wish is, I don't want any of this nonsense. I want to be what I am. So, that's it. Okay? So,
Rangada.
Merci
Merci.
beaucoup.
okay.
Bonne journée.
Au revoir, bonne journée, good day.
Bonjour.
Thank you, Ranganath.
Same to everybody. Au revoir.